My grandson's 5. 5. I'm like, how is this possible? And then my son, who got married last year, just said, dilemma.
Yes, that's the worst one.
Thank you. And if anyone says anything different, my grandson goes, no, her name is Grandma. Shoot, I don't think I did. All right, I have to give it to you. Okay. Get it to Fallon?
Had her baby. Oh, no, but he's so cute. And I was telling him, I had to wash my t-shirt made already. Day one.
Karen,
I'm sorry. I'm with Congressman Unveils. He's running just a tad late. The thunderstorm kind of caught him in some
how
traffic.
much do you think?
Probably about 10 minutes. So, but
Should we get started?
it's seeing as that he's kind of towards the end of the mark.
Right.
I would reckon that's probably the best thing.
Fine. Okay, great. All right. I was actually just texting him, so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to get started. Congressman Mfume will be here shortly, but I think by the time he is on the program, he will be here. But I know everyone has come, and it's raining. Everyone wants to get in and get out, so we don't want to keep you, so we're going to get started. Good afternoon. See, he would have liked that. If the response wasn't big enough, he would have made us do it again, right? So he would have liked that response. On behalf of the Chief and Administrative Judge R.G. Carrion and the entire Circuit Court of Baltimore City, it is my honor to welcome you to the Elijah Cummings Courthouse for the unveiling of a magnificent mosaic in honor of the late Congressman. I welcome you all to this event, not just as a judge who sits in this building, but as a past chair of the Elijah Cummings Youth Program and as someone who had the privilege of calling Elijah Cummings a dear friend. There was no professional decision I made in my life without his consultation. There was no life event in my personal world that Elijah did not attend. I am thrilled that I can be part of honoring him in this way here today. The Elijah Cummings Youth Program commissioned Art with a Heart to create this mosaic in his likeness and with his favorite quote. You will hear more about that shortly. The Elijah Cummings Youth Program is an elite 2-year leadership development program for high school students in the 7th Congressional District. The program was started through a partnership between the African American and Jewish communities with the goal of building bridges between these two communities. Congressman Cummings was a committed bridge builder who believed in the best in people and was dedicated to truth and justice. That is why the naming of this courthouse in his honor is so appropriate and I know would be so meaningful to him. This courthouse serves people of all races, creeds, nationalities, religions, all walks of life. Those that work in this building are charged with looking for the best in every individual we see and are committed to truth and justice. I hope that having his name on this building will keep his memory alive and will serve as a daily reminder to all those who enter these doors, litigants, citizens, employees, of what commitment to a life of service looks like and what a life seeking to build bridges and moving the world towards truth and justice can accomplish. Before I turn the program over and ask Jennifer Cummings to unveil the mosaic, I want to just acknowledge some special guests that we have here today. First of all, Mayor Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. It really means a lot to have you here. There are several members of my bench here and former members of my bench here, and we're so glad that you're all able to join us today. I want to give a special welcome to Mrs. Maya Cummings. We are so happy that you were able to join us here today. I know your plans changed in the right way in the last minute, so we're just so thrilled. I was so thrilled when I heard that you were able to join us, so welcome. I would now like to call on Jennifer Cummings to gingerly Try to unveil the mosaic. There we go. I think it truly is amazing. It's beautiful. And as I'm sure you'll hear about the phrase, our children are the living message we send to a future we will never see. Anyone who knew Elijah knew that that was something he said all the time and just meant with all his heart, and why he invested so much time in youth. I'm now going to call upon Ms. Nadia West, who is an alumnus of the Elijah Cummings Youth Program and who was instrumental in putting together this gorgeous mosaic.
Hello, everyone. Oh, sorry, like Congressman Cummings would say, hello, everyone. I am Nadia West. I'm the coordinator of leadership and workforce development at Art with a Heart, and I have a interesting full circle story, but I'm also alumni of ECYP, and I got to work on this mosaic here. Our children are the living messages that we send to a future we will never see. That is the first thing I remember Congressman Cummings saying during our welcoming ceremony into the Elijah Cummings Youth Program. It is to date one of my favorite quotes that I have lived by since first hearing those words as an impressionable 15-year-old girl growing up in Baltimore. How can I make an impact? How can I make sure that I'm doing my part to forge a future that Congressman Cummings would be proud of? ECYP helped me grow into the strong, independent leader that I am today. In my cohort, I stepped out of my comfort zone and explored different cultures, religions, ethnicities, and even continents that I would not have been exposed to otherwise. ECYP presented me with the opportunity to build bridges and engage in tough conversations about race and religion with Jewish teens living and exploring the same city as us. What we discovered was that our two worlds offered completely different lenses through which to see. These conversations are what started my curiosity for learning more about others and finding the connections between everyone. When I heard that Art with a Heart, my job, would be creating a mosaic in honor of Congressman Cummings, I wanted to be as involved as possible. So one evening, I took a break from my desk and I started mosaicing. One of our longtime volunteers, Miss Judy, decided to stay longer than usual and join me. Judy and I couldn't be any more different from one another. She's retired from a successful career, married with children and grandchildren, while I'm just now entering the workforce. She's a white Jewish woman from Park Heights, growing up in a two-parent household, where I'm a black woman who grew up in Gwynn Oak and was raised by a strong single mother. But somehow we connected. We talked for hours about our different upbringings, how she had worked hard to build a successful travel agency, and the difficulties of identifying as a religious minority within her high school and neighborhood. We challenged one another's perspectives about how Baltimore is evolving and what that means for all of its residents. We listened as I explained gentrification, redlining, and the two Baltimores, while she shared the stories of what Baltimore once was. Our two worlds couldn't be any more different, but as we place each piece of glass, I realized that our values and missions in life are one and the same. We both admire our mothers and have a love for sweets. We love to travel and ask questions. We both care about the city and want to foster environments and spaces for people to gather. We both actively seek ways to connect ourselves with other people. My relationship with Judy is one that I cherish. I learn from her and she learns from me. So now I ask myself, what message am I sending to the future? I like to think that I'm actively bridging the gap that has been systemically built to separate us from each other. Through my work, I have made it my mission to engage with youth from various backgrounds with different life experiences in order to build bridges and break boundaries. At my job, we create spaces where all voices are heard, seen, and valued. I do all this knowing that the children and youth will in turn send these messages to the future generations. I leave you all now with a hope that you will take time to reflect on the messages that you're sending to the future, a future that Congressman Elijah Cummings would be proud of. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Randy Pupkin, the founder of Art with a Heart.
That's me. And this is a first with the last one. Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Pupkin, and I am the founder and the executive director of Art with a Heart. I am also the very proud vice president of the board of the Elijah Cummings Youth Program. I have a vivid recollection of the first time I met Congressman Cummings. I had requested a meeting with him to ask if he would speak at Art with the Heart's 10th anniversary event. It's hard to believe that was over 11 years ago. I remember waiting for the congressman to arrive in his Baltimore office. I sat in a quiet conference room by myself watching the clock. Every so often, a staff member would come into the room to let me know that the congressman was running late, and each time would give me the option to reschedule. I sat and waited patiently. I was on a mission. After 2 hours, the congressman appeared. He was incredibly apologetic. I explained to him that if he was me, he too would have waited forever, any amount of time, to meet with him. I had heard the congressman speak over the years and had great admiration for him. It was thrilling to have the opportunity to sit and talk with him, and that we did for over an hour, and he gave me his undivided attention. We talked about Baltimore, we talked about the practice of law, and we talked about Art with a Heart. I told him how I started the organization from the trunk of my car and a shed in my backyard after giving up a nearly 14-year law practice, often in these very halls. We talked about how Art with a Heart had grown steadily from March of 2000 with 4 small classes a week to over 12,000 classes a year. We talked about how each of the organization's 5 branches creatively address needs in the community, and he listened intently. I told him about Art with a Heart's core programs that bring visual art classes into schools and shelters, community centers, group homes, and so much more. I told him about the Workforce Development Initiative, which uses art as a vehicle to teach job skills and has an 80% job placement rate. I spoke with him about the art of leadership that brings together 10th and 11th grade students to engage in dialogues across cultural barriers and works to develop more involved and thoughtful citizens. Also, we talked about Heartwares, Art with a Heart social enterprise and retail store, which displays and sells the wares made by volunteers and students in our job program. And lastly, we talked about the organization's ever-growing and thriving community service and public art initiative. This branch is responsible for engaging thousands of volunteers each year, even during the pandemic, and installing over 300 public art projects in our community. This is one of those projects, and it is a true testament to the Congressman's legacy. The core of the project is grounded in positive intention and kindness, much like the Congressman. The materials have different textures, much like the Congressman, who could adapt to any situation or community calling. And much like everything the Congressman did, the Mosaic was completed with the sheer determination and grit of the Art with a Heart team, led by Allie Mursky, who's standing right over there, raise your hand, along with the dedication of the students and volunteers who kept this project moving forward. Anyone who ever spoke to the Congressman or who was privileged to listen to him talk knew that there was always a message of perseverance and determination. So here we are today, a beautiful installation completed during one of the most challenging times in our world's history by a diverse group of individuals who came together, learned together, created together, and grew together, all in Congressman Cummings' name. I am a better person having known the Congressman, and his unwavering dedication and support of the community inspires me daily. I am honored and humbled that Art with a Heart designed and created this lasting and beautiful tribute to a king among men, Congressman Elijah Cummings. Thank you.
It is now my honor to ask the Honorable Brandon Scott, who is Mayor of the City of Baltimore, to please deliver remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Come on, everybody. We can do better than that. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. had to do it. It's the only way to do something for my congressman. I am honored to be here today with you, Jennifer, with you, Dr. Cummings, but everyone. I often say, and I can say safely in this space, that everybody in this room was inspired and touched, and their lives were improved by that man, Congressman Elijah Cummings. We all know that he was a true hero, a true Baltimore hero, a true American hero, a hero for African Americans in this country and black people throughout the world, a hero for the working class and for anybody who was marginalized or left behind. He was our hero. I always say that his attention to those that he served was only outdone by the attention that he did for our young people. And you saw that each and every day. So when folks ask me why I spend so much time with young people in Baltimore, I say I learn from the best. Because by the time my memory started to work properly, Congressman Nfume was gone. And there was only one elected official in Baltimore that I could touch. There was only one elected official in Baltimore who would come spend time with us, and that was Congressman Cummings. He motivated generations of Baltimoreans to public service, not only through his wonderful inspirational speeches, of which we all know and love him for, and his deep commitment to our young people, but his personal time and attention that he gave to people and issues in Baltimore. If you saw him in the grocery store, if you saw him out at a concert, Dr. Cummings, you and I know about his taste in music, right? He always took the time to be a real human being. And I think that that is something that we overlook a lot when we think about the greatness of not just Congressman Cummings, but of true public servants, that they are just normal people to the people that they serve. The best public servants, people will walk up and touch them. They're going to call you by your first and last name. They're going to touch you in a way that you won't get from other elected officials, and that's what Congressman Cummings represented. I personally am eternally grateful for his mentorship, his friendship, for him kicking my butt every now and again when I got a little too big for my britches, as we would say, but more importantly for blazing a path for me and young men like me to know that what I have become today is possible. Because Jennifer, while we all know when he was thinking about this now, quote that everyone knows, that he was thinking about you and your siblings. But I also am one of them children. I'm also one of those messages that he sent into a future that he will never see. And every day I think about how I hope to be a living message of what he wanted me to be, how he pushed me to be better. I miss him all the time. There are some things that I wouldn't be dealing with today if he was still here, but that's for a different time and place for us to discuss. But we know that every day we have to be our best, because that's what he wanted us to be. He wanted us to be better. He wanted us as a city to be a better place, and I will always know that I have him standing behind me, pushing me to be better, so that we, a collective, can be better, so that I can send messages to a future that I will never see, that will be greater than the Baltimore that I ever believed and lived in. And that's really the core of ECYP, trying to make sure that we are merging fences and coming across boundary lines to make our future better. This Mosaic will serve as a time when everyone comes into this building, they'll know that once again that they are in the Elijah Cummings courthouse, a man who gave it all for Baltimore and gave it all for those who did not have a voice. The voice of the voiceless, Congressman Elijah Cummings, my friend and my mentor, and I am so honored to be here with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. It is now my immense pleasure to introduce a dear friend of mine of over 30 years. That's possible, my goodness. The Honorable Kwaize Mfume.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this standing ovation. Allow me just a moment in terms of protocol, just to thank the people who have preceded me here before you this afternoon. The Honorable Karen Friedman, our judge, our friend, and our compatriot, who was the former chair of this effort and did such a great, great job. I want to thank Jennifer Cummings. And Jennifer, just say to you, I've got something special for you from your dad that I've been holding on to for a while, and I will deal with that right after this is over with. My thanks to Nadia West, an alumnus of the program, and Randy Pupkin for the Art with a Heart explanation and remarks. And of course, the mayor of this city, Brandon Scott, whose leadership and whose direction is something that's lifting communities every day out of the muck and mire and giving them what Elijah always talked about, a dream and a belief that things would get better. Now, Elijah and I teased each other a lot, and one of the things he always said, write it down, Kwesi, write it down, especially if you're going to say something about me. So, Elijah, I've written a little bit of it down, and then I'm going to be extemporaneous after that. But let me just say from my formal remarks that, as we all know, a portrait is just a picture of a man's face, but it is also more than that. It is a picture of his soul. And in here and in this mosaic, we have a portrait of Elijah Cummings, someone the ancient Greeks might have called a great-souled man, a man who was virtuous in all things, a man who was sincere, as we know, compassionate, as we have learned, and just, whose voice trembled and boomed with a humanity that could reverberate throughout your bones. Elijah may no longer be here physically, but his goodness still ripples through this world, and among other things, through the Elijah Cummings Youth Leadership Program in Israel. This program is today what it is because of his hard work, the work of the judge and other board members who are here, the work of nameless and faceless people who donated and who gave, and because of the work and the inspiration that we see in the faces of so many young people. In fact, this program has helped nearly 200 young people grow into future leaders. Elijah handed our children a better future by giving them the tools, as we know, to forge that future for themselves. But he also, most of all, gave them hope. Hope for a community committed to understanding and a community committed to tolerance. While we're in this courthouse named after him, we can sometimes, and will sometimes perhaps, see the offshoots of injustices that he fought for throughout his career that will some days loom large in this building. We will understand the challenges facing our youth in our community and that get resolved in different parts of this building, from custody battles to run-ins with the law, by giving kids the option to further their studies and to be something special rather than to become and accept the notion of being a statistic. Understanding others enhanced Elijah's ability to be able to give back so freely. It taught him and it taught them in Baltimore's Black and Jewish communities to find a way to share together a globe, a state, a city, and a common humanity. It sows in our children the belief that our city, Mr. Mayor, works best, as you know, when its various communities do not simply work together, but get together and get along and understand and appreciate each other and the differences. And so whether it's the Bible or the Torah or the Quran, those three great books all teach and try to put forth one thing, that we should love our neighbors as ourselves, that we should take our humanity and always try to lift it, and that we are the sum of our parts. Now, one other thing, and I will take my seat. Elijah Cummings, as I've said so many times in introducing him, was a stalwart in the storm, one who stood steady and steadfast through it all, and that no matter how long his journey, cold his chill, fierce the enemy, or few the friends, he always found a way to capture our will to dare to be different and our will to dare to make a difference. It was the simple eloquence of his example that caused so many of us to gravitate toward him and to follow him and to love him and to believe in him and even today to mourn him. Every now and then we're based in situations and we are based in communities and we're around people where the naysayers tend to dominate. And their religion is one of no, you can't, no, you won't, and no, we will never go forward. Elijah never gave in to the urge to have disbelief about anything, never accepted those sort of contradictions, but instead found a way every day to rise up and to be different. We spent 15 years together as seatmates on the Board of Regents at Morgan State University. And I would remember his laugh, I would remember his anguish. I remember him saying, you know, your pain is where your passion is. But most of all, I'll just remember his example, the simple eloquence of a man who understood who he was and what he had to do, and who understood also that time was running out for all of us. So this is so very special, trust me. Years from now, when people come and look at this and visit, and when some of us in this room recant this dedication to other people, let's say that we were absolutely happy to do it, absolutely beholding to a man who would tell you in a minute, I'm not all that, and we would say, yes, you are, Elijah. You're all that, and you're more. Because you're ours, we all claim a part of you, and we love you so very, very dearly. So, Judge, thank you so much for the opportunity to say a few words, and my thanks to all of the members of the board, as well as those graduates that have come through this program. Thank you.
It's now my privilege to invite Judge Audrey Carrion, the Chief and Administrative Judge of the Circuit Court for Baltimore City.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mayor Scott, Congressman Mfume, Judge Friedman, colleagues, many of you here, family of the late Congressman Cummings, and other distinguished guests. Before I start, I want to thank those who have worked so hard in getting all of this accomplished today. Our administrator, Mr. Lionel Moore, and his assistant, Ms. Nora Downs, Wilbert Carrington, Major Giles, who is our Chief of Security, and I know he's back there somewhere, so many thanks to him. Our court reporter, Trish Facriatis, and her staff. We have a big contingency of our courthouse family who's watching this virtually. And also our IT director, Mr. Mons. So many, many thanks to all of you for getting this done. It is my honor as Administrative Judge and Chief Judge of the Circuit Court for Baltimore City to accept this heartwarming mosaic, which speaks to Congressman Cummings' lifelong dedication to the betterment of our youth. Special recognition goes to the Elijah Cummings Youth Program for their vision. The mosaic speaks of the heart and soul of all of those who contributed to this piece. Your work of art and heart is in good hands. We will watch over it and share its message with all who enter this building. Now, I do have to say, Mayor Scott, that hopefully one day we'll be able to move this mosaic to a different courthouse.
All right.
A different Elijah Cummings courthouse, and we will be very careful in moving the mosaic there. Thank you. Thank you all.
That is our program. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you.
Great job, Karen. Thank you,
Of course, thank you.
See you.
So glad you came.